What's up, everybody? Good morning,
Hey,
afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're listening to this, I guess.
get the
Uh,
podcast. What do you want?
what's that? Yeah.
Podcasting. Let's do whatever they want.
hmm On-demand video, podcast, whatever you guys want to do.
That was a good time to take a drink.
Yeah, really was. Hey, you know what? I've been sitting here dealing with thunderstorms out of the blue at 9 o'clock in the morning, and power going out and sucks working in the sticks, or living in the sticks, I should say.
Uh,
It's not very noisy. It's kind of nice, but anything happens weather-wise, and you go back to 1800 for a little while, so that's cool. How's your day been? What's up?
my day has been fine. Welcome to Cinema Royale, everyone. That was quite a start. I am Travis Hobson, and is John Nolan. We are film critics out in DC.
I mean, I assume they know all this stuff because it's in the intro, it's on the show title, so I just go ahead and skip right through it. But
I
I
guess.
guess it is proper.
Sorry. Welcome to the show. All right, so what are we talking about this week? This week we got to talk about the second episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We haven't really talked about the first one either.
No.
So we should probably talk about both, I guess. We can take both weeks into account. The second episode is pretty goddamn great. In fact, I watched it twice.
Mhm.
That's how much I liked it. So we can talk about that. A lot of stuff happened in it too. Movie-wise, we're going to talk about Nobody with Bob Odenkirk. What were the other ones? There was
Bad Trip, which was supposed to have come out like a year and a half ago, or
Yeah.
well, not a year ago, right before coronavirus.
Yep, on the shelf for a while. Got delayed because of COVID and all sorts of other
Mhm.
stuff. Ended up on Netflix. And the last one was what was the last one? I sent it to you, and I don't remember what it was.
Oh, let's see. I write stuff down somewhere. Um, no,
Professional.
it's just that's it. That's all we had was Falcon and Winter Soldier, Nobody, and Bad Trip. And then we got a lot of news coming up this week too. We finally got a Suicide Squad trailer from James Gunn, Suicide Squad.
That's right. I was going to talk about The Vault, which is the high flick that came out this week, but I don't really need to do that. And I'm conducting an interview with one of the stars tomorrow, so I might hold off on that.
Cool.
So yeah, a bunch of news as well this week. So yeah, so man, let's jump right into it, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Nobody, because that was sort of the big film this week. A lot of people talking about it, mainly because it's Bob Odenkirk.
Mhm.
Most people know from Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, or Mr. Show, which is I first remember Bob Odenkirk. Come a long way from that, based on this movie, which is basically middle class John Wick, I guess.
Yeah.
Basically what it is, and without the directing skills of David Leitch and Chad Stahelski. The director behind this one is Ilya something, the same person who did Hardcore Henry a couple years ago. But it's written by Derek Kolstad, who's written the entire John Wick franchise.
Mhm.
So, and this one could easily fit into that universe if they wanted to make it so.
Yeah.
Like he basically plays a guy named Hutch, basically a pretty average guy, family man, couple kids. Son doesn't seem to really respect him all that much, and a daughter who really dotes on him. His wife's played by Connie Nielsen. Too hot for him, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Uh, he's just a boring guy. But then a couple criminals break into their place. He has a chance to take them out and doesn't, which makes him look like even more of a loser to his family. But it also causes something in him to kind of not necessarily snap, but
Mhm.
to flooding back to him. And he has this violent side, and he goes out and he takes out his violent urges against a group of thugs on a bus. And it turns out one of them is the son of a Russian mob boss, and that causes all sorts of grief. And of course, what we find out is that Hutch has a dark past as like the most elite government assassin in history.
Mhm.
So you probably get the gist of where this is going. That's the basic plot of Nobody. And look, I enjoyed this movie enough, but I'm not going to sit here and act like it's great. And not a lot of people I've seen have been acting like it's great. Um, I don't think it is at all. I think it's fine for a 90-minute action movie with not a lot on its mind. What is seriously lacking is the world building of John Wick.
Mm.
I thought the villain was extremely lame. And the action, while you would think it'd be more fun considering it came from the person who did Hardcore Henry, which was a lot of fun, um, it's all right. It's nothing special about it to me. I mean, I had fun watching Bob Odenkirk do it, but that's really the only thing that's like colorful about it is that it's him. And if it was anybody else, I'd probably a little bit bored. Um, so I mean, yeah, it's kind of a throwaway movie to me. I
Yeah.
kind of wish they could have tied it into John Wick. So they would have bolstered it up a little bit. But yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't Bob Odenkirk, this would be a Bruce Willis, straight to Netflix
And it
movie.
kind of has a Death Wish sort of feel to it. I mean,
Hmm.
but it's kind of teasing you because it's not an average man snaps and goes off on a rampage. That's not what it is at all.
Yeah.
It's
It's
not what
more
it is.
like
It looks like that way from trailers and stuff, but that's not what it is.
it's more like Long Kiss Goodnight than John Wick when it comes to like or to then average man goes crazy. I was just wondering, it's more Long Kiss Goodnight than Falling Down. Is that that's the one with Michael Douglas, right?
Yeah.
When that you could never make nowadays because it's way too
His
um,
white grievance does not allow him to go off and do that. I'm sorry.
right. Um, so
It
I
was
mean, I
fine
never really got into
years
Breaking
ago.
Bad.
Yeah, that movie doesn't get made now.
Yeah, no, that's what I said. It doesn't get made now. It's not something you would make. Um,
Oh,
I
you're
was
in a traffic jam? Well then,
yeah.
go on a rampage.
So Bob Odenkirk, I can see the charm a little bit, but I was never a big Breaking Bad fan, and that's probably gonna cut me off from some people. But I
Yeah.
tried to watch it several times. I never got past the first season, and it was good. It was just one of those shows I didn't have a pull to watch. My wife watched it, loved it. So obviously I never saw Better Call Saul either. And he's got this look of a very everyman type deal, and he's able to pull off the action enough where it's not completely unbelievable. It's not like seeing the guy from Office Space doing this stuff, but at the end of the day, it's this is one of those times when a very well liked actor.
What are we talking about?
What?
Which guy from Office Space are we talking about?
Pick one.
Stephen Root, or are we talking about like Ron Livingston?
Well, I was thinking of Stephen Root first, but Ron Livingston fits too. I couldn't see Ron Livingston doing this stuff. Any one of
Ron
them.
Livingston was in Band of Brothers, man. He fought in a war.
Ron Livingston was a second lieutenant that spent the whole time drinking in Band of Brothers. He wasn't a Green Beret dropping out of helicopters. Yeah, so I mean, this is like I said, this is a Bruce Willis, like a post 2015 Bruce Willis action movie with somebody that people really like in it, which means it's fine. It's got a lot of good action in it, and a lot of the choreography wasn't anywhere close to what I thought a John Wick would be. You got the Russian mob parallels and all that, which apparently nowadays in the movies, Russian mob is like quicksand was in the 80s. Like I grew up thinking quicksand was going to be everywhere because quicksand was referenced in everything. And I'm amazed that they run into the Bratva anywhere because every movie you watch now, I guess because it's like cliche or I mean, at best cliche, at worst out and out racist to do like a Middle Eastern villain or anything like that. So they're like, the Russians are.
It was Russians in the 80s, and then we went through. It really depends on who our chief rival is all the time. So like in the 80s, it was Russia. In the 90s, we went through kind of a Middle Eastern phase in a lot of movies. Middle 90s to the early 2000s, like a Middle Eastern phase.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like they didn't want to offend anybody, so they just used like indescript Slavics.
Yeah.
It was like
like poor Eastern Bloc folks
like
doing nothing wrong over there.
Like the Taken movies. It's like
right.
People from like Yugoslavia, like of undetermined origin, Slavic origin, and
yeah.
Now we're back to Russia.
Yeah. So now we're back to Russia, but it's at least the Russian mob, and they're even the books. Like I've read a lot of like CIA type paramilitary books, and even those have switched over to the bad guys not being the Russian military, but the Russian mob, the Bratva, or whatever you want to call them. But long story short, perfectly fine way to spend 90 minutes if you're an action fan, but I think it is getting a little overblown because it's Odenkirk. I think you see that quite a bit when you get a beloved actor in a role, automatically that movie gets an extra 20 points or so.
Yeah, it's a lot of fans of Odenkirk out there who are blowing it up, and look, that's fine. If it were if I were an actor I really loved doing something that he's never really done before, I'd probably be more excited for it too. I get it. I,
Hmm.
you know, I just
I did like seeing Christopher Lloyd though. I honestly I didn't know he was still alive.
that's another thing though. I mean, I they could have done so much more with the RZA character and the Christopher Lloyd character. Like I
Hmm.
didn't them to like, especially the RZA character. Like, who was he? Like, I mean, he was on the phone most of the time, so we didn't see him. And then when he shows up, he just kind of shows up, and then that's it. But we don't have any idea who he is. And it's like it's like they were saving stuff for nobody too.
Yeah.
It's like I don't need this saved for that. Like
Yeah.
I need to know more if I want to see more. You know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you
They
got to
didn't
world
give
build
us
before you drop the teasers. You know what I mean?
right. They didn't give us anything. But I actually really liked Christopher Lloyd in the little bit that he got to do. He seemed like he was just having fun.
Oh
And,
yeah, yeah.
and you know, RZA, I always could use more RZA in movies. I think he's great every time he pops up in something.
I'm still, that's his gig for the most part is just showing up and talking on the phone or doing something in the background, and just being RZA
Oh,
wherever he is. Except for the man, what was it Man with the Iron Fist, the movie he did all those years ago?
you know, the Iron
What?
Fist, he directed that. But remember, he also directed the movie just last year, though, the Cutthroat City. I mean, he's still busy, very busy doing movies, making movies.
Yeah, but you don't see him. I mean, he's busy making movies, but he's not he's not in stuff that gets a lot of visibility, and he's always been like a charismatic presence on screen, so it's surprising you don't get him there. So yeah, that's nobody. Did you get a chance to see Bad Trip?
Fuck no, there was no way in
No.
hell to watch that movie. I don't like Eric Andre. I don't.
He's
I,
another one I haven't been. I know him from the memes that they've made out of his or the memes that they made out of his show, I guess.
yeah,
But I don't. That's the only place I know him from. I remember seeing these trailers like a year ago, and I was like, okay, it's yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I wish I could say you didn't miss anything, but this is the most uplifting movie at the best time that I've seen in years, and or not in years, in weeks. Let's put it that way. Let's not get overboard, because it's Bad Trip follows this guy and his best buddy, played by what's his name, Del Little Howery, and they're going to visit Eric Andre's high school sweetheart in Manhattan. They're from Miami, and the whole thing is just the whole story is just a vehicle for them to do pranks like Jackass or Bad Grandpa or something like that. So those are sprinkled all throughout. And meanwhile, you got Tiffany Haddish who breaks out of prison. And is going hunting them down because the car they took to go on the road trip, it was her car that they didn't think she'd miss. So all that stands there. But the best thing about this movie, I mean, the pranks are, if you like Jackass, if you like Bad Grandpa, I'm not even gonna say if you like Borat or any of Sacha Baron Cohen's stuff, because his stuff's more sophisticated is a tough word to use, but his stuff has more like of a satirical content to it. It's a little higher brow, but this is just more like Jackass level. If you love that stuff, you might like it. It certainly will hit all those check
I
boxes.
love Jackass. I love all the Jackass movies.
Yeah.
Even the TV show, mainly because I hate the people in it. But then I like the movies, so it was a weird contradiction there.
Yeah, the only reason I can't see people that like Jackass liking this is because this doesn't have the balls to go as far as Jackass does.
You know what I don't want? I don't want the storyline.
I don't see that's what I'm saying. I don't see the point of it.
I just give me the pranks. Like that was
Yeah.
that was the main reason why I like the Jackass movies so much, because
Hmm.
it was just pranks. Like
Yeah.
I don't need a storyline of people going on a road trip or whatever the hell the story, the Bad Grandpa storyline was. That was
Hmm.
always the thing that drove me away from those movies.
Right.
Like I don't give a shit about your story for these things. If I want to see a prank movie, a bunch of prank movie, I want to watch the pranks. I don't know. What does the acting add to it? I don't get it.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, and it's jarring because the transition from scripted
Yeah.
to prank is not smooth. So, but I was very like,
Someone doesn't always pull it off flawlessly in the Borat movies either.
no.
But it's a hard thing to combine. But I certainly have no faith in Eric Andre and Laurel Howery to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't have any faith. I didn't have faith in Bad Grandpa just because it looked terrible. But but I just want give me two separate things, man. I probably would watch this movie if it was just a regular road trip movie. Maybe.
Well, see, like with Sacha Baron Cohen, the stuff that sets him apart is it doesn't seem like scripted movie prank, scripted movie prank. It seems like one long prank, and he's literally living whatever Borat is. There's no script, even though stuff's scripted. It doesn't feel like there's ever any part scripted. You're literally just following this guy, and that's what sets him apart. Here, I mean, the scripted part serves no purpose other than to set up the pranks. It doesn't do anything for you at all, and there's not. They could have cut it out entirely and been fine. But I will say, I was very, very surprised, happily surprised at the reactions of a lot of the crowd. There are so many people out there in just normal everyday America that are willing to help and willing to step up and get involved if somebody needs them and things like that. And it was the last thing I thought I'd feel from this is being inspired, and I was.
Only to be pranked for doing it.
Well, right. Well, that's the downside of it. Is that it's showing these people are stepping out and doing the right thing, but they're also being taken advantage of at the same time, which sucks. But it's still good to know that people's default setting is usually to help and not to ignore or hurt and everything like that.
You really liked this. You gave it a pretty good review, if I remember right.
Yeah, I mean the story. Other than the story, I should prep you by saying I really liked Jackass. I even liked Bad Grandpa. Okay, and the storyline of this is the only thing that didn't need to be there. Everything else, it was just fun to watch. So yeah, I gave it a 3. I think maybe a 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. I remember right.
Yeah. So. I definitely liked it. It's on Netflix for free, so that leads into some of the scores. So you guys can definitely watch it there. But if you like that type of movie, it definitely hits all those marks. It's not as gross out or dirty as Jackass, which for me is a good thing. I don't particularly like seeing fireworks being shot out of somebody's butt, but for those who
What's this dynamic that you don't like that shit, but I find that shit hilarious?
I don't know. I'm actually wondering that myself, because usually it's me that likes the lowbrow stuff. Like I don't need to see a boa constrictor wrapped around some dude's balls. It's not that's not my. I can't watch it. I get too anxious. So yeah, Bad Trip is not as deep as
The Jackass jokes I couldn't get behind were the ones where they like shit themselves. Like I didn't need to see that. Like we got a streak in their pants.
Wasn't that like half of them though, where they're either shitting?
There were
or
a lot of them where they ended up shitting themselves.
Yeah, I'm like I thought that was like the whole thing behind it. Yeah.
Like the one where they jumped from the tree into like the underwear that were like hanging.
Oh yeah.
It like ripped one's asshole. Like
the worst ever was
when shit all over the place. It was gross.
They put Steve-O in that porta potty and flipped out. Oh man, my stomach still hurts thinking about that. It's terrible.
I need to watch those movies. I just watch all of them back to back.
You know what I remember? I think it was part 3. It was whichever one, because that high speed filming, like 400 frames a second filming, so you could see that ultra slow-mo, was brand new when Jackass came out, and they used this awesome technology, this visual amazingness, to show people getting hit in the face with dildos in the beginning of it. It was just hilarious. I loved it.
Oh man, that was fun. All right, so the movies for the week.
Do you want to say something about The Vault, or are we gonna skip past that?
The Vault. It's a pretty basic Euro heist movie anyway. So anyway, it's fun. It's fun. That's why I'm doing the interview tomorrow. But it's not really anything special about it. Let's talk about something that so far is off to a pretty good start, and that's Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I have somehow tricked myself into recapping these every week again, and I got to do something where I can unburden myself of this every time some Marvel series comes out. But every time they air, I feel compelled. Now, what happens is Disney will send screeners of it, and I'll be like, well, I got the early screeners, so I can do these, and then I won't do anymore. But then when the episodes start, I'm like, well, fuck, I did one already.
Right.
I'm not supposed to not do anymore.
You got to keep going. Well, I mean, you can let me roll with the videos. I recorded a review of Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 2 yesterday that I'm cleaning up, and I'll have up to date for you guys to check out. But I'm a man who cannot function without. I can't stay up late. I can't get up super early. So
for time. That's the reason why Why? Because I thought about that when I did the second one. I was like, well, John will probably do one, but then I was like, it's 3:30 in the morning or 3:45 in the morning. I can get this done by 5, and it'll just be up and whatever.
Yeah, I plan on having them up by Saturday morning for you guys, but that's the best I can do.
I'm just a stickler for time, man. It's like whatever. I'm not doing anything. I'm
Yeah.
fine. And they don't take, honestly, the recaps don't take very long, and so it's just.
But we got, and you know, a big theory going into this was, I keep wanting to say, is it Isaiah Washington before I met? No, he's an actor. Isaiah, what was his name in the comics?
Isaiah Bradley.
Isaiah Washington. A big theory going into this was that Isaiah Bradley was going to play a big part, just because of the dynamic of, you know, Anthony Mackie being given the shield from Steve, who, you know, his best friend, but, you know, to an African American man in the country, that shield.
Bring in all the patriotic characters.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot more to it than just I just carry this shield and I'm America, because there's a lot more that goes into it. And episode 2 really doubled down on that, and you can see, you know, how you know, Bucky's reacted to it. You can see the pain that Sam's going through. I mean, in episode 1, we see you know, stuff that we've never seen before, stuff everybody wonders about, and Marvel's great at doing this in little ways. Like when Sam goes back with his sister to get a loan for their shrimping boat, Bubba Gump shrimping boat, and they say, well, you don't have any income, you know, and he straight up says, yeah, we don't get paid for being Avengers.
Which, by the way, that as much as I like that scene for all the context that's in there, because I mean, there's the whole thing where, in particular, black celebrities and black athletes aren't recognized for what they do outside of their entertainment value, which is pretty much just what happened to Falcon in that particular situation.
Wait, explain it to me. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, the guy who they were asking the loan for, didn't recognize him at all outside of the thing. But then there was absolutely no value to anything that he had done. Like he had helped save the world, but it was like, yeah, but we can't help you anyway.
Yeah, it's cool, but we still can't give you. Okay, I got you. I understand. Gotcha.
So there's all sorts of that context there. There's even more than that actually in episode 2. But I mean, he gets racially profiled in episode 2. But
yeah, I mean, they really doubled down on the whole thing, and it's kind of unrelenting when you think about it. They just keep going for it.
They're going pretty deep in this, and his storyline to me is a lot more interesting than whatever they're doing with Bucky and his repressed memories and all sorts of bullshit. Yeah, I get his storyline already. That's not that new, but for Marvel, for them to tackle what it means to be not just black in America, but to be a black superhero, and I think that's the thing that's going to make this series stand apart from, well, not just from WandaVision, but from anything that Marvel's done before. But the first episode ended with everybody getting that first look at John Walker as Captain America. And what's funny about it was all the memes that it inspired. People like
expectation versus reality.
My favorite one was funny. It was just like Baltimore crab cakes, and it's like picture of Chris Evans, Steven American. It's like crab cakes anywhere else. It's like John Walker. It's like it's just so stupid.
Yeah.
But basically, people do not like this John Walker Captain America. So what was interesting was that episode 2 begins with us learning about John Walker, and he actually seems like a pretty decent dude, right?
That surprised me that they went that way, but yeah.
Well, my theory on John Walker is that it will take. This is only a 6-episode series. It will take about 2 more episodes of disrespect before he starts becoming the asshole U.S. agent that we.
He's already there. I mean, at the end of in the middle of episode 2, he says, "Stay out of my way." You know, so that's the start.
He's clearly got inklings of it, but he's not an awful guy.
No, he's a hero. He's still an American hero.
Right. He comes in there with the right intention, but he's going to be disrespected into being just a straight prick.
Right.
But basically, it gives us all the things that we don't know about him. You know, former high school athlete, top peak physical condition. He can wield Cap shield just like Cap can. The guy's a superstar. The guy's always had privilege and power and respect, which is the thing that I talked about pretty extensively in my recap, but I don't normally do. I try not to go off of too many tangents. But I went off on a little bit of a tangent about John Walker and the differences between him and Cap. That's what this episode is largely about. And one of the big things is that John Walker is somebody who grew up obviously from a place of privilege. He's always been seen as a superstar, always been seen as an A-lister, basically. Football star, military star, probably high school king, high school prom king, probably.
Even with that underbite.
Right, probably. Yeah. He's a Russell. So I mean, he's probably always had this feeling of superiority, whether he wants to admit it or not. Whereas Captain America comes from the complete opposite end of the spectrum. He's somebody who didn't have power. He was a puny, he was a weakling, he was bullied. So when he got power to affect the change that he always wanted to do in the world, he always respected it. Always respected it.
The entire plot point in his selection in the first Avenger is that when they're sitting there in the iconic moment when he jumps on the hand grenade, he and Erskine and Tommy Lee Jones are having a conversation. He says a man that's always had power won't respect that power, and that's what we're looking at with John Walker.
That's exactly what this episode is establishing without having to be really blunt about it.
Right.
So that's what I talked about in my recap. But yeah, so basically we get to meet him, and he seems like a pretty decent guy. The gist of the episode basically has him going off against the Flag Smashers.
Mm-hmm.
Warren is not run by that big dude, but as I said, run by a woman. I can't remember her name.
Enfys Nest from Solo. For those of you that remember Solo.
Oh yeah, that's the character. Her name is Erin Kellyman, the actress. She's going after the Flag Smashers. Bucky and Sam are finally together, and of course they're beefing the whole time about the shield and all that kind of stuff, and they get into their first big scrap against the Flag Smashers, and who should they be saved? They get their asses kicked. Who they should be saved by? But the new Captain America. It's like the most embarrassing thing.
Yeah.
It was that was the thing that made me laugh the most was how many times they had to be saved by Captain America. The one person they didn't want to meet, they didn't want to be saved by.
And it was a great entrance too, because they're getting their asses kicked, and there's no indication that Walker and Battlestar, his sidekick or whatever.
That's what I mean when I say they're putting in all the patriotic characters.
There's no indication that they're anywhere near the part of the world that Falcon and Winter Soldier are, and they're getting their asses handed to them, and almost on the level of Mjolnir flying by into Cap's hand. You're surprised by Cap's shield flying in once again to save Falcon or Bucky, but then it occurs. Wait a second, and then you see John Walker over there. You're like, oh, come on. I mean,
there's also a great scene in that fight too, where the shield is coming back to Walker and
Bucky grabbed it,
catches it, and you're like, hold on to it, mother.
Yeah, it gives it back. But I did like that they talked about the real world stuff a little bit. Bucky's like, we just go and take it, and referring to the shield, and Sam is like, look, last time we did that, we were on the run for 2 years, and Sharon was branded an enemy of the state. We can't just take it. I mean, I don't think we all knew John Walker was going to be a U.S. agent. Honestly, I figured they just made another shield, or I can't remember if they even showed him with the shield in the trailers or just the suit. But I mean, it never occurred. I guess it didn't occur to me directly that he had the shield that Steve gave to Sam. So in that first episode, when it basically opens with Sam getting ready to donate it to the Smithsonian, because he doesn't he doesn't feel worthy of it, or he doesn't want to, whatever it is. And then the owner of the Smithsonian says, you're making the right choice. It needs to be here. And he's double crossing the whole time. The entire time he's got these plans to put, this new Captain America, John Walker, up front. When you see him walk out with that shield at the end, and you feel exactly what Sam Wilson is feeling in that moment. You see Anthony Mackie does such a good job of portraying the subtlety of his anger and disappointment and heartbreak at seeing this other guy walk out with that shield and knowing he got screwed over. I mean, that was a really strong moment for me.
Yeah, no, it was a good moment. A lot of good moments for Falcon in this, and the series is really shaping up to be about him and what he's going through. Like I said, we got a little piece of it in the first episode. We saw more of it here as Bucky introduces him to the character I was hoping to see throughout the series. There was no guarantee that he was going to pop up. There's nothing confirmed that he was going to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
He takes him to Baltimore, of all places. Interesting. Um, to meet Isaiah Bradley, who in the comics is known as the Black Captain America. They're a little bit more vague about that in the show, but basically he's a black man who was taken and experimented on with super soldier serum. The government's trying to recreate what they did with Steve Rogers, and they uh, basically gave an experimental, crappier version of the super soldier serum to black soldiers, and most of them died. But one who survived was Isaiah Bradley, and he used it, and he became a hero. And in the comics, he's punished for it eventually, kind of like how it is in the show. But he also, because the formula is very crude, it basically turns his brain to mush. He's very childlike now.
Mm-hmm.
In the show, that's not the case. He's just older. He's just aged, but he's not childlike or anything. He's just angry for a very good reason. He's in prison for 30 years, basically for being a hero. And Falcon takes this exactly how you might expect he would take it. He's very angry that he never knew about any of this.
Yeah.
And it kind of backs up everything that I think he was kind of dealing with internally in that first episode. It's like, how do you be the patriotic hero of a country that is still very racist, treats its heroes a certain kind of way?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, he got a little bit of that in the bank, where he felt that everything he had done was being unappreciated.
Right.
It's like, this is like it on a much bigger scale. But introducing Bradley, and of course his grandson, who we saw briefly, Eli Bradley, who was the hero known as Patriot, one of the Young Avengers, was also a big moment too. You can expect we're going to see more of him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know how they're going to get all these people fucking in the show, but they're going to do.
Well, I mean, they're probably going to disappoint some people because, some of them are probably going to pop up for 2 seconds and never see him again. I mean, but that whole sequence, just like they start touching on it, and it's not even hinting at it, but what's going on when they're in the bank. But then you get that Baltimore sequence, and it's just.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about what coming out right after that.
Yeah, and so you're hit over the head. Anthony Mackie, I mean, his performance right there, just when he comes out, the emotion that he's showing, because I gotta imagine, as a black man in America anyway, that's got to hit home for him as Anthony Mackie, not Sam Wilson. So I'm sure that played into his portrayal of it, because the thing people got to remember is this isn't fiction. I mean, there's the documented. It wasn't a super soldier serum, but black soldiers have been tested on.
Out there?
No, that's why I said not super soldiers, but there. I can't remember the name of the program, but there were black soldiers were injected with syphilis for a long time just to see what happened. There's all kinds of shit like that happening. So it's not far off from reality. And then he goes outside after what happens, learning about Isaiah Bradley, learning that Bucky kept it from him, and all this stuff happened. And what's to happen 5 seconds later when he and Bucky are arguing? The cops show up and they try to arrest him until they realize, oh wait, never mind, you're Sam Wilson. We won't bother you anymore.
You're that celebrity.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's weird. I mean, I could never fully understand for obvious reasons myself, but as angry as that scene made me, I can't imagine how it makes anybody else that can relate to it, feel. Yeah. Like, what does it feel like for you watching something like that?
I mean, like I've been saying, it's just building on stuff that we've been seeing for the first 2 episodes, and I'm wondering how they're gonna if they're gonna keep kind of touching on this throughout the course of the entire series. It's going to be pretty amazing, and it has the potential to be a show that goes beyond just being about superheroes, which so far that's what it's doing. But then the superhero stuff is really cool too, because I'm interested in the Flag Smashers as well. I don't want to leave that part out of it, because that part of it is really good too, and just like the basic exciting Marvel hero stuff. That stuff has been working for me.
Power Broker shows up.
Yeah, we learned about the Power Brokers, who were the Power Brokers in the comics are people who basically will give powers to anybody who can pay for them, which is probably where who the Flag Smashers are running, or why the Flag Smashers are running away from the power brokers.
Right.
So they got their own thing going on. I'm curious to see what direction they're going to go because I kind of feel like the leader character, I'll keep forgetting her name. I kind of feel like she's somebody they might be building into someone who becomes a hero at some point. Like I kind of get that feeling. Like
Yeah, so we didn't even talk about what's going on or what the flag smashers are existing for in this, but essentially, they're all the theoretical questions about what happened after the blip. Okay, you come back 5 years later and your wife's moved on and somebody's living in your house and all this stuff like that. They're kind of addressing it with this in a way that there's a big group of people that are wanting things to go back to the way it was before the blip. They haven't dug into it enough for us to really get an idea, but there's a global repatriation society that's helping people get back, credit and all the things they need to survive, and that's what the Flag Smashers are doing. And they're not, at least not yet. They're not.
They're thinking the people that have been brought back are being shown preferential treatment.
Right.
The people who have been here,
Mm-hmm.
who struggled through those 5 years. They're thinking they're being kind of left behind. It's an interesting angle to take, and I think it's one that could easily be turning her into maybe sort of an anti-hero character at the very least.
Yeah.
Once the rest of the Flag Smashers get killed or something, I don't know. But but I feel like there's a long-term plan for her character, just based on the first two episodes. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And then somebody we didn't see a lot in the second episode, but just to mention real quick in the first episode, if anybody had watched it, you may not have known that he eventually becomes somebody, but you can kind of guess because of the way he's featured, and that's Torres, Sam's kind of second in command for his little assault group, and he ends up actually becoming Falcon later on down the line in the comics. I'm sure they won't go the same way they did in the comics because he's kind of like an actual bird-man hybrid, but there's something in there too. So there's all kinds of
Red Wing gets trashed in this one, so who knows what they're going to do to replace him.
Yeah, that was kind of that hurt my heart a little bit seeing Red Wing go. I mean, we haven't even been able to get that much time with Red Wing. Maybe that's an episode 4 or 5 thing, but I guess because he's a drone and not an actual bird, it doesn't matter as much. Yeah. But all in all, I mean, I think it's given me exactly kind of what I expected, what I wanted. If you talk about all the different flavors of Marvel, you have cosmic and tech and all this stuff, the military espionage stuff, Black Widow, everything we're seeing here has always been my favorite, and they're delivering on that full bore. I mean,
no post-credit scenes so far.
Were there ever any? I mean, I know there was one episode with post credits in Wanda and the
almost all of the Wanda WandaVision ones had either mid-credit or post-credit. Almost all of them.
Oh, maybe is that why they were 15 minutes long? The credits. I only caught one that did, and I kept fast forwarding for like 10 minutes into those 15-minute credit blocks they had, and I didn't see anything.
There's always at least a mid-credit scene.
I'm gonna have to go back and check that then.
At the very least, I think every episode had a mid-credits.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at least a couple of them had a post-credit. But so far, there's been neither for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So
yeah.
Maybe they don't need. The good thing is Marvel doesn't just do those things just for the sake of doing them for the most part. But it's still a little surprising. Like, oh, okay, so we're not gonna need those. All right. Maybe it's a shorter season. So I don't know.
But they did have at the end of episode 2, they did have their closing scene felt a lot like it could have been a mid to end credits scene, and that's what everybody's been waiting on. The return of Zemo at this point. He's not a Baron yet. We don't have any purple balaclava for him to wear, but and he actually, if anybody remembers, we left him with Black Panther finding him on the out in the snow and stopped him from killing himself, and then just saying, "You're not going to die. You're going to serve time." Well, he's been in a cell that entire time, and Sam and Bucky are going to visit him in jail to get some information about what's going on.
Hannibal Lecter character right now, doesn't he?
Yeah, a little bit. So, episode 3, I'm sure we'll dive way more into Zemo and most likely show him. My only fear is that they're not going to get Zemo to bust out until episode 5, because this is only a 6-episode series, the shortest. Well, I guess there's only 2 series, but of all the Disney Plus stuff, this is the shortest season that they've released. So we gotta get the story done quick, and we're gonna be at the halfway point next week, and Zemo's not even in play yet. So hopefully he gets out quickly next week.
Everything, all the series, to about 6 hours in total. Total length. So I think that's what they're trying to do.
I guess so. These episodes are longer.
Yeah, regardless of how many episodes, they're trying to keep them around 6 hours. That's what I believe I heard. So
yeah, that's anything else on Falcon and Winter Soldier you wanted to cover?
It's making me so hungry. Somebody's growing right outside my door, right outside my window.
Killer.
Yeah, I know. It sucks. I need to close the window. That's one. Yeah, and now nothing else on Falcon and Winter Soldier. So far, I mean, it's off to a really good start. First episode was, kind of lacking in the buddy comedy stuff. They didn't even meet each other in the first episode, so it was a little.
Yeah. But they got right off to a good start there. I mean, I've said on here before that's one of my favorite. That was one of the things I most want to look forward to this, and is that buddy cop comedy dynamic between these two.
You got plenty of it too. The whole Big Three conversation is so goddamn stupid. It just makes me laugh. So.
Yeah. All right, so switching from Marvel to DC, big trailer dropped late last week. Everybody's been waiting to see James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Oops, I just switched to the wrong scene again, so that's not what you were looking at. We're not talking about nobody again. James Gunn's Suicide Squad. We've gotten some looks at the characters, and we've had an idea that there's going to be tons of members of Suicide Squad this time, but we finally got a full trailer, and it's just beautiful. It's perfect. It's so James Gunn. It's got the same heart as Guardians of the Galaxy did. And when you think about it, the Guardians are really anti-heroes, or at least anti-hero adjacent. So, it's obvious why they picked Gunn for it. Right up to the first, the opening seconds of the trailer when they show Harley, they're all going in to save Harley, and she's already saved herself. And the way that all turns around, it's amazing.
Yeah, this is like a blast. I think this is the movie that DC, Warner Brothers, wanted the first Suicide Squad to be.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was, not necessarily a problem, I guess the problem for them, was that they hired a director who doesn't make those kinds of movies. David Ayer doesn't make comedies.
Right.
He doesn't have the kind of irreverent sense of humor that James Gunn has.
Mm-hmm.
Expecting him to make anything other than the dark and gritty and soulful movies that he's always made, that he's made for like 25 years, was stupid. I don't know why they expected anything different. So, and look, I'm one of those people that thinks Suicide Squad is actually a pretty good, about 75% of a pretty good movie. But I still kind of wish we could see if we could get the Ayer cut, like his version of it, but we're never going to get that. Then again, I said that about the Snyder Cut, didn't I? So who knows?
Yeah, all bets are off at this point.
Yeah, but this one looks like so much fun. Sylvester Stallone as King Shark is going to be a blast, and I hope he's there for the entire time. They put out a bunch of posters like immediately after that said, "Don't get attached to anybody."
Yeah.
I have a feeling that Boomerang is toast.
Yeah, he was barely featured in the.
He's not been featured much at all. And he was. I mean, Jay Courtney as Boomerang was one of the best parts of the first movie.
Right.
I think if they're going to establish that this movie is separate and different from the first one, what better way than to kill somebody from the first movie that people like? And I feel like Boomerang will be the one to die. Now, Boomerang in the comics is notoriously hard to kill. He's been supposed dead quite a few times, and he always manages to come back in some way. So, I mean, if they killed him off, I wouldn't be surprised if he still showed up in a Flash movie somewhere down the line or something. But yeah, I have a feeling that he's gonna be gone.
Well, why even bringing him back if you're gonna do that?
Huh?
Why even bring him back?
Well,
just for the purpose of separating yourself from the last movie?
No, well, you don't have to bring him back for another Suicide Squad movie, but you could bring him back as part of Flash's Rogues Gallery. I mean,
no, but why bring him back for this Suicide Squad if you're just going to kill him?
Part of Rogues Gallery. Well, I mean, I mean, I don't know. Why bring back any of them if you're gonna do that? But I mean, he is one of the most popular parts of the movie. So I mean,
But
why not?
he and Harley are the only two coming back. Well, Joel Kinnaman, Rick Flag,
Viola Davis too.
Viola Davis.
So it's like four of them.
Yeah, I guess that's more than I thought.
Yeah. So it's quite a few people from the first movie come back. So there's a connection, obviously.
Mm.
But in terms of like whether or not this has any storyline connection, no, there's not. Um, but yeah, I feel like he's probably done for. But this just looks like it's going to be so much fun. John Cena as Peacemaker. I was joking with somebody. He's like, "Can you believe we're getting Peacemaker and U.S. Agent at the same time? They're like flip sides of the same coin. They're
Yep.
basically the same type of character. Guys who defend peace through violence, basically. Two asshole patriotic characters.
Mm.
Um, it's like two of my favorite characters. We're getting both at the same time. It's pretty crazy. Um, so yeah, I can't wait for this. This is gonna be so much fun.
What a world to be alive. Yeah, and I had to go down a rabbit hole because I'm the Suicide Squad. I've watched all the animated movies. I never really got into the comics. So obviously I know King Shark. I know most, but there's so many new people in this movie. I mean, you've got I forget half their names. You got Nathan Fillion coming in. You have um, uh,
We don't know who he's playing though.
it's a three-letter name. I don't recall. I just looked it up the other day. But you got Weasel. Like I have no idea what Weasel's story is, but he looks freaking cool. You got the Thinker, who's Doctor Who, who's playing him.
Yeah, Peter Capaldi as Thinker. You got Michael Rooker as Savant. And you got David Dastmalchian as Polka
That's
Dot.
yeah. Yeah. What
Uh,
does he do? What does Polka Dot Man do?
his suit has like these like polka dot weapon things. It's weird. Um,
That's what they need to do is release a quick like a 10-minute video just literally introducing to everybody. Hey, this is me. This is what I do. Polka Dot. Oh, Nathan Fillion is TDK. Pete Davidson plays Blackguard. John Cena Peacemaker. Alice Braga Solsoria. Michael Rooker Savant. Jack Courtney Captain Boomerang. Idris Elba Bloodsport. And we know everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun.
So
Man.
Idris Elba's Bloodsport looks like he's going to be pretty awesome too. But there's a scene. I don't know if they gave something away or not because Rick Flag's obviously the leader of the Suicide Squad, but he's not actually a bad guy. He's just their sergeant or whatever you want to call it. And then there's the ending scene of the trailer where they're walking through the forest and that great bag of dicks exchange between he and John Cena, and somebody refers to Bloodsport as the leader. So maybe Boomerang is not the only one to go. Rick Flag could be going. That could be the reason that they're going on that mission.
That is entirely possible.
Yep.
Bloodsport isn't necessarily a bad guy in this either. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. We'll find out. I'm excited. I'm excited to find out. So.
Yep. Also in the DC world, we find a character that's been showed up in pretty much every DC TV show or every CW TV show at least, and is always referenced, but has never been on the big screen. Never even talked about that I know from being on the big screen. Is Dr. Fate. Probably one of the coolest looking costumes of anybody that's in the DC universe. I think he's got that featureless helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pierce Brosnan, which is he like 70 now or 80? How old is he now?
No.
Right? No.
Right.
I mean, he was headlining TV shows in the 80s. Got to be old, but he has apparently been cast as Dr. Fate in Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam film, and he is 68, born in 53.
Okay.
So
Makes sense. Well, he'll have a helmet on the entire time, so. Dr. Fate is basically like DC's Doctor Strange. I mean, that's the simple way of putting it. He's a master of mystic arts for the most part. So that's gonna be fun. So what's interesting about this Black Adam is that this is really kind of turning into a Justice Society of America movie. I mean, what Noah Centineo as Atom Smasher. You've got Aldous Hodge as Hawkman. And there's another one too that's in there, and I can't remember her name. Somebody's playing Cyclone. I can't remember who the actress is playing her. But it's turning into it's clearly going to be a Black Adam versus JSA type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they could easily spin this off into a JSA type of movie, which I'd be down for because I was always a JSA fan and not necessarily the JLA fame. I always thought the JSA was just a cooler team because they weren't as powerful as the Justice League. So and they had a wider berth.
Yeah.
Like
They've been dipping their toe and like really getting, because outside of comic fans, 5 years ago nobody knew who the JSA were. Well, I'd say 10 because they showed up in Smallville.
Terrific on the big screen, please. Give me Mr. Terrific and Wildcat.
Yeah, well, you have Mr. Terrific showing up in the Arrowverse, and you have Smallville brought the whole JSA, including Fate, in, and then you have Stargirl, which the whole base of Stargirl was a JSA. So
yeah. So there's a lot of stuff they can do. Spinning out of that. More DC news. Ron Livingston's going to play the guy we were just talking about that you can't imagine.
being an elite assassin.
He's playing the Flash's father, so he's replacing Billy Crudup in the Flash. So
yeah,
there you go.
It's odd. Yeah, so I mean that pretty much wraps us this week. I guess like we kind of talked about that. Now that Zack Snyder's Justice League is so popular, and if you guys missed it last week, we did a entire special that you can check on YouTube or Spreaker. We brought our buddy Matt Razak from Flixist on to talk about it with, so check that out. But now we're getting Restore the Snyderverse, so now that everybody's seen the Snyder Cut and they like what they saw, they're just a little sad that it's a dead end road at this point. So I don't know. Is there any chance that goes anywhere?
What goes anywhere?
Restoring the Snyderverse.
No, I don't think so. I'm not saying that Snyder won't come back in some way, but I don't think that happens.
Yeah,
You don't see it.
So.
We also got a new Transformers movie that's coming out. Another one. Who did they get to direct that? Oh yeah. Oh, duh. One of my favorite new directors, which is Angel Manuel Soto, who did Arm City Kings. One of the best movies. I think it was on my top 10 last year. Saw it at Sundance, and it was my favorite movie at Sundance. It's incredible. He's going to be directing a new live action. We don't know if it's live action, but at least it's live action Transformers movie. So they're really growing the Transformers universe because they just got Stephen Caple Jr., the guy who did Creed 2, to do another live action Transformers movie. That's
wow.
Be in the same universe as the Michael Bay films, but this new one from Soto isn't, which makes me think, what is it then? Is it Beast Wars or something? I don't know what's going on with that, but Transformers is coming back in a big way. And Soto, he just signed up to do Blue Beetle for DC Comics.
Now that I'm excited about.
Yeah, it's a Blue Beetle movie, which we saw Blue Beetle, the guy who becomes Blue Beetle, in Zack Snyder's Justice League. We saw him.
Who? Where?
He was the other lab tech.
Jaime? Did they use his name?
Reyes? Yeah.
Huh. I must have missed it. Jaime Reyes, right?
Yeah.
We're not doing the, what was the other version? I forget his name, the old guy. Well, I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, a lot of people missed also, I don't know if we discussed in our review, but, the other guy that was in the Star Labs was, Ryan Choi, right? He's the one that ends up becoming the Atom, the other version of the Atom at least.
Right.
So they're dropping hints here and there and everywhere.
I'm getting Ryan Choi and Reyes mixed up because I always get them mixed up. It was Ryan Choi.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't think I saw him anywhere, but I could be wrong.
You're right. I always get those two mixed up for some reason.
Oh, Blue Beetle is awesome. I mean, a Booster Gold is somebody else I'd like to see. A series on even. I think Booster would be better in a series than a show.
I'd make that movie.
Yeah, but so a lot of stuff going on. Then Ghost of Tsushima, which I just started playing, and is a lot of fun. It's not Last of Us level yet with me, but it's definitely a lot of fun to take on the mantle of a samurai. We're getting
pretty
chill
awesome.
on that.
Ghost of Tsushima is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
What's the new movie with Brad Payton that's coming out? Brad Payton just got signed for a movie, and I was making a reference to it somewhere, and I can't think what it is now.
Bradley Payton? I have no clue.
Sniper Elite. So yeah, it was Sniper Elite. So yeah, because the thing was, we were going to talk about Ghost of Tsushima and Sniper
Oh
Elite.
yeah, I had that next to my take because I was literally about to say,
Yeah.
you know, a game I've never understood the drive for was Sniper Elite. I played it; it's fun, but it's like kind of a, you know, really big popular game, and there's been like 14 installments of it.
Right. So Ghost of Tsushima has Chad Stahelski attached to that. And that's one of the guys he's like the John Wick
Hmm.
director. Because David Leitch has gone off and done a million other things, but Chad Stahelski hasn't done anything other than John Wick. So he's attached to that. So the action is going to be incredible on that. I was saying that I really wish they could have got a Japanese director to do that,
Hmm.
since it's about samurais and stuff like that. That's like
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
American samurai movies, they don't always tend to be great. Yeah. So he's attached to that. And Brad Payton is on Sniper Elite. And what was interesting to me about that when I was writing about it is that Brad Payton and Dwayne Johnson are always attached at the hip. So
Hmm.
Brad Payton did Journey to the Mysterious Island, which was like the big hit of that franchise with Dwayne Johnson. Then they worked together on Rampage and San Andreas. And then when 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 Johnson was going to be doing the Lobo movie for DC Comics, Brad Payton was attached to that too,
Hmm.
and he was eyed to direct Black Adam, but it didn't happen, obviously. So those two are always attached to the hip. So I would not be surprised if he gives Dwayne Johnson a call on the phone, like, "Hey, you want to do Sniper Elite?" So
Yeah, but he doesn't really fit as the sniper, you know, as the sniper himself. I don't think he'll be the main. It's kind of hard for a guy his size to sneak around and crawl on the ground to get in position and take somebody
he's
out.
already been in GI Joe, man. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but he was roadblock. He wasn't. He wasn't. He wasn't a sniper. But that's
I
certainly
will, I
not.
will, I will remind you that John Cena played a sniper in the Marine, and not the Marine, but the other.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, what I was going to say is it's not like historical and real world accuracy is something that is always brought into play when you're talking about casting somebody like Dwayne Johnson. So,
yeah,
you know, his name kind of trumps all that stuff.
it's not as if a sniper has to be Hornswoggle or something like that. I mean, he can be of like a pretty decent sized guy and still be an effective sniper.
I mean, I'm just saying a sniper is usually not somebody his size. But it is Hollywood, so you know he can do whatever he wants. I'm pretty sure.
Like the sniper needs to be Peter Dinklage or something, but he doesn't.
I didn't say he had. No, I didn't say he had to be. I'm just saying, you know, when stealth and being inconspicuous is part of what keeps you alive, it's best not to be 6'7", 300 pounds, and The Rock. So, um, yeah, I think that about rounds it up. We got anything else to cover?
No, I don't think so. Next week is going to be Godzilla versus Kong, and
Yeah.
I've got about 40 minutes left in watching it, so I need to
You
get.
want to talk about something that seems to be throwing everything at the board and hoping it sticks? I caught the spot the other day that shows Mechagodzilla coming up. So,
Yeah, yeah, I'm at the Mechagodzilla part right now, actually. So,
well, you
yeah.
go enjoy, and we'll check you guys next week. Here, let's go over our closing stuff real quick. Our site, where you can read that review for Godzilla vs. Kong, is www.punchdrunkcritics.com. On Twitter, we're at PDCMovie. Travis is at PunchyCritic, and I am at PunchDrunkJohn. On Twitch, Travis is at cinematic_enforcer. Just a reminder, we are looking for writers right now, so if you want to do some movie writing, maybe see some movies before everybody else does, possibly talk to some famous people, shoot us an email, info@punchdrunkcritics.com. Let us know if you're interested. We are looking for writers as we speak. Until next week, folks, we are the Punch Drunk Critics, and we are out of here.
Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff. Thanks for checking out the show.